Scott Starnes with Edmond Music, here today with Matt Stansberry from Westerlund Audio, talking about the new Westerlund Audio 1 pedal. Matt, tell us about it.
Yeah, so this drive, it's boost, it's a preamp. It really came from this idea of we wanted to have a pedal that, funny enough, doesn't sound like a pedal.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the idea. It was like we want to click it on and it'd be really an extension of your amp. It's kind of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of the starting point. We pushed it from there and did some other kind of fun things with some clipping, where you can get some kind of fuzzy-esque tones, which we'll look at here in a minute. But
So
really,
it's got kind of an always-on kind of pedal.
yeah, but that's kind of the starting point, was like an always-on kind of thing, to take an amp that's already breaking up and take it a little further, or take a clean amp, which I'm doing today, and giving it that breakup sound.
Right.
That's kind of the idea.
So, you know, sometimes gigging it's hard to take 2 amps everywhere, so this is like having another amp that you're not having to lug around a backline, you know.
Kinda, yeah, totally. It kind of has that kind of effect for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
Cool. Let's see what it does.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm gonna start. I'll give you guys kind of just the clean sound. That's without the drive, and then you're just gonna you can just tell right now, just kind of have it barely on, but it kind of gives that. If you have that clean kind of thing going, you want it to give a little sparkle. So kind of get that thing going. Again, without. So the EQ, you can tell it's kind of like liven it up, brighten it up. That especially works great when you think about the studio. A lot of it can be subtle. So again, this is that always on. Well, let me do a quick walkthrough. Actually, let's do a walkthrough of all the controls. So
Okay.
you have up here, you have the bass, the middle, and the treble. Just work like traditional EQ. You have the gain, which is kind of your drive level. You have boost, which I'll talk about specifically in a second. This is your boost level. And then here's your overall volume level for the pedal. So pretty straightforward up here. Where this pedal, again, it can look confusing at first, but it's really pretty straightforward. When you go to these switches, off is what we call amp mode. So that's where it's really just the most transparent, most headroom. When you click into the clipping, either hard or soft, then it activates either germanium or silicon. So that's kind of fun. And I'll go over that here in a second as well, so you can kind of click through those. And then we have this master sort of bright or dark. So certain amps, you know, in certain players, it really has been interesting to see which players prefer the dark mode or the bright mode. It's really a taste. I typically leave it in bright, even with a bright amp.
Yeah.
So, which surprisingly, with darker amps, I've been liking it better in dark mode. Which is
Do you find a difference between humbuckers and single coils as far as light or dark? Does that kind of factor into it too?
Not as much for me, but I think it again depends on the player.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is we wanted to have a lot of flexibility based on that player. So the always on mode for me is an amp mode, but a lot of players are liking like a silicon soft as kind of a thing too. So there's a lot of those things in here. So humbuckers, all that works great, but it really just depends on the player.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than the gear in a funny kind of, which has been kind of cool to see. The one thing to note is the boost is a pre-gain boost, and it's not independent of the circuit. So it works when the pedal's on. It won't activate. It's not going to activate the boost, but I'll show you that in a second too. So actually, I'll show you the boost real quick. So has tons of headroom, but if you had your sound, you can really kind of spike it.
Yeah.
And what's cool is if you have it more in this amp mode setting, because you're not squashing it very much with the amount of drive, you really can use the boost to even spike like a clean solo.
Okay.
You know, so if you were doing, you know,
basically in a live setting, it would kind of throw out in the mix. If you get a solo, you want to kind of hang out of the mix of it in front of the band. Kick that in. You still have to maintain that integrity, but just more of it.
Exactly. Yeah, just more of it. A little more bite, but not crazy. And the cool thing is it will give you more of a actual volume boost when it's lower settings like this, which is really fun. And I like that as a player on the stage. You know, I want to hear the increase in volume sometimes more than I do gain.
And then be able to fall back in the mix by turning it off.
Exactly. So it does give it a little. All right, so I'm going to start changing up here. So I'll go into soft clipping. And I'm actually going to go on germanium because I think it's kind of fun. You can actually hear some of this fuzziness I'm talking about. I'm going to keep the level low and start cranking some gain up. It's starting to really kind of natural kind of squash and compression, which is really fun. So that's all the way up on that gain. Totally, it's fun because it's like it's not a straight fuzz, and it's somewhere in between. It starts kind of leaning into that territory.
Fuzz can get a little splatty. It maintains a lot more character to the notes and everything.
Yeah, it pushes it up before you start getting. You can get a little bit of that sputtery thing in the studio if you're running the rig a certain way. We've been able to get that sound. Probably not as much with this setup currently. Yeah, it kind of gives you that range. So I kind of wanted to go kind of start clean and then kind of go extreme so you can kind of see. So I'll go now. Let's go with silicon, and I'll go hard. And you can tell some. So this is where I think it gets kind of subtle, though, right? It's like you can feel some of these settings more than you can hear them in a way. So it may change the way that you play, which is kind of fun as well. Let's see here. It pulls a lot of the treble out, so you can crank treble up to kind of find the space where they kind of left each other, where the bright picks up and the dark kind of stops, which is kind of fun too. So if you were like, bright mode's too bright, dark mode's too dark, sometimes you can go in the dark mode and just crank up the... You're kind of in this sweet warm spot, which is kind of fun. So I really like that about this pedal too.
Saturation's real nice on that. You can hear definitely that growl, but you still have the notes kind of shining through there. So
totally
under control.
Perfect. So that's hard silicon.
Okay.
Let's do, and again, that was dark mode there, which I'm kind of liking right now. Kind of a little drive. I'm gonna add the boost, and let's do soft silicon, add the boost, keep it in dark. This is still pretty hot. I'm pretty high on the drive, so there's a lot of gain on tap. Yeah, for sure. For sure, but that gives you kind of a good range of what this pedal can do.
Sure. No, we're excited about it. You know, it's always fun to have a new product, especially a new product that's made here in Oklahoma, which we absolutely love. So, come on out and see us at Edmond Music, where we have the Westerlund one in stock. Anytime you want to check it out, come in. We'll plug you in, and you can play like Matt does here. So
perfect. Thank you guys so much. I'll take you out.